very little road base that is now mostly sand. 2, trees are making it a safety hazard with ever increasing traffic. Number 3, trees make it nearly impossible to meet and pass cars in winter. The plows have no place to push snow because of the trees. During rainstorms, number 4, during rainstorms and spring runoff, water has no place to go. Number 5, gravel is needed to pack down and give a hard surface, which would help eliminate the washboard effect. We have somewhere nigh on the 30 signatures. They're all residents. Some are seasonable, but they do come up in the winter for the most part. And obviously, everybody that signed the petition is concerned about the situation. I've got a copy to give each board member here. Whoops, I'm sorry. I need a longer arm.
May I ask a
Plus
question?
the legs to it, but don't, I'd be taller. This one, should I be just left here? Or should I-
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
What, you were asking that people come in by this petition. Are you asking for a special assessment for
No,
county?
we're not.
Okay, so what are you asking for?
We're just asking that the county approve the road. There are safety issues with the trees and everything. Any of you that have been down the road, I think, understand that. And the fact that it's awful hard in the winter. You have to be very selective on where you meet somebody. It's almost like you have to find a pull-off in places, part of the road, because of the trees are making it impossible for plows to move the snow off the road.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure what you were asking.
I personally would have no problem with assessment district for that, but I'm sure that most of my neighbors would not agree.
If you give me your phone number, you heading this up? You took the petition?
Mr. Smith and I are.
Okay, if you give me your phone number.
775-6424. And I can give you a cell also. 878-0356.
When I find out the result of my discussion with the road commission, I'll give you a call.
All right. Okay. All right, thank you.
Can we put this as an agenda item so that we can have a two-way conversation? I mean, I know Molly did, this public comment, I am not about to ask questions.
Well,
I'd like to put it on, I know.
I just wanted to
Can we
know
put
what
it
it
as an
was.
agenda item so we can just discuss it, have it one?
You can discuss it, what you want to discuss.
No, I am not discussing it, it's public comment.
All right, we can make it as an agenda item.
Number 5.
Township roads.
We got anyone else?
My name is Jean Bessie, and I've been up here before on the property down on Anthorn that me and my two sisters own. I'm asking for an exception or to have this property grandfathered in. Originally, the address for this house, this land, is 421 East 13th Street when we had the house up. And it used to have, the property went clear to the fairgrounds. The fairgrounds and my dad had the same fence. And then my dad sold the township 66 feet to put the road in, which became just a 2-track for many years. And then at that time, they zoned that whole area out there as commercial property. And then they built the road in there, and took the fence down that my dad had up. He had animals in there all the time. It was a field and it had animals, farm animals, horses, whatever. And they never put the fence up. And in the meantime, since the property is zoned commercial, it also limits to who we can sell this property to. And you come up with this new ordinance, you come up with it last summer, I was up here several times, and now twice this year so far. on the new ordinance, which is basically almost the same as the other one. And we were out measuring our property, and 200 feet back takes just about all that property. And you're talking about people who are retired, who live on Social Security, old, we're all in bad health, and we can't afford to pay somebody to go and clear that off. And the problems with this property is all to do with the township and all the things they have done, not the property owners. So all you guys have done is put a stress and hardship on the owners of this property. So what I'm asking for is exception or to grandfather this land in. Thank you for your attention.
Anyone else like to address the board?
Mary Stark. I live on South 39 Road, and I just have some questions in regard to the loop that has been approved, and I've been attending meetings here for, it's not approved. Is it getting approved tonight?
Probably not tonight.
Because the contractors are planning on starting work tomorrow.
No, they're not now.
Okay,
I got a hold of it. We contacted him. There's been a misunderstanding. We have to discuss some stuff in closed session, and after closed session, we will discuss it.
okay, because the way this has been handled,
But
with
it's
the
not-
pipe being delivered
But there, I
today,
know there was, the pipe was moved from the 13th Street site over there, and they moved all their equipment over there. The easements are all in place, but there are two very important things that have to happen yet before that's okay. That was discussed last
because
month.
I've been attending meetings for a year and have never heard anything about this
And-
project going through.
And at this time,
139.
there wouldn't be a special assessment on the property owners. If it goes through, it will be set up, it will be paid for when according to the ordinance, the water ordinance, if your well fails, you won't be issued a new well permit. You would be required to hook up at that time.
Well, I've seen the ordinance
Okay.
from previous, but I mean, the way things are
But we're not
happening.
forcing anyone to hook up to that at this point.
And you know what? What's bothering me more is just how covertly all of this stuff is happening without our neighborhood knowing anything that's going on. I've spent probably 4 hours on the telephone today calling neighbors saying, this is what supposedly what's happening, and we haven't been notified.
It certainly wasn't intentional.
Well, somebody better clean up
It
their
certainly
approach
wasn't-
to
It
things.
certainly was not intentional.
So,
If you feel
that's
like
why
that,
I'm
sorry,
here.
but it certainly wasn't intentional.
I just need to, I forgot to say that there is no address for that property on Hanford Street. It's just what, it belongs to the house when it was up on 13th Street is their address.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Al Nelson, I live 417 off South 39 Road. I want to pick up where Mary left off. We didn't get notified of whether it's got, we did find out, I found out this morning, when there's a guy out there in my front yard, puts flags out there. So I went out and asked him, what's going on here? He said, we're putting in, marking for sewer and water. And then a while later, another guy comes by, and so he stops and we're talking, and he said, well, we're gonna be starting tomorrow. That was at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Now, if you've done something after 4 o'clock, that's true, but they're planning on starting tomorrow. That's what I was told per this gentleman, which I have his name back there on the card. And it was not very, let's see, right the way he handled it, I guess is the way to speak it. None of us know, I mean, I read the tape where you were talking about this loop and some of the health problems and that. But on the same token, We as property owners deserve a right to know what's going on in our neighborhood, which we don't.
I agree with you.
You didn't, nobody notified, nobody came over and extended a simple courtesy of saying, hey, we're gonna be running this pipe down there where this is in the plans, and explain to us just a little. I never got a letter from anybody. That's not right either. I've said in this township hall many meetings, I've been accused of a lot of things by some of the people that are on this, sitting here on this board. One not being transparent and all that. Well, this was not transparent, Bob. No way. And if this is the way you're gonna conduct business, you're gonna have a lot of problems.
It wasn't intentional, if you feel.
Well, whether intentional or not,
Okay.
it went on, so take steps to avoid it. You've got yourself a lot of pissed off people.
But it is
for no reason.
it would be a water.
I understand all
Not
that.
sewer.
And I understand the benefits of it and all that, but the way it was handled was absolutely not right.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? If not, we will move on to approval of any amendments to the agenda.
I'd like to make some additions. Number 5 being township roads generically. Number 6, actually a follow-up to Miss Bessie's request. Can we add just a line item for grass weed ordinance enforcement update? I mean, I'd really like to know, I can read stuff, but I would like a line item so I know what's going on.
Hold on a second. So under 5, what do you want?
Township roads, in response to the request earlier.
Okay.
6 being grass weed ordinance enforcement and update, and even a response to the request. And then 7, sorry, but I really would like to add planning commission member appointment, particularly because we were requested. I have somebody added, a planning commission appointment, a decision,
Okay.
and that's it.
Anything else under new business? Okay, under pending business, I'd like to add hydrant warranties. And as a discussion topic, under 2 under pending business would be a proposed resolution that we won't act on tonight, but I would like to discuss it. And it's a process that Jim White provided us, how to loan the water fund money from the general fund. Anything else?
Look, can I ask, 2 people during public comment talked about our water extension, and you had mentioned we're gonna talk about it. Is that gonna give us an opportunity to respond to them under either 3 or 4? Talk about it. Would that be okay?
It would be right after closed session, we could discuss.
Oh,
Yes. Okay. Anything else? If not, do we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I'll make the motion.
We have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who's second?
Anita.
Okay, first item on the agenda this evening, we have Dan Leonard here from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And Dan, if you'd like to take the podium and introduce yourself and what you do and what you plan to do to help us in our township.
Sure. So, good evening, everyone. My name is Dan Leonard. I'm with the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and I am your community assistance specialist for basically everything north of Clare, not including UP, just northern lower Michigan. I live in Traverse City, and so I'm not out of Lansing per se, but I'm a regional rep. And in general, our customers for the MEDC are communities, townships, cities, villages, across all the different territories, of which the whole state's split up into 10 different regions. I cover regions 2 and 3. And just for instance, generally I get a call when, communities are trying to further themselves, address different public policy issues, address infrastructure issues, try to implement their master plan goals and objectives. And we can try to help with financial tools, try and help new businesses. We can help with technical assistance tools to try to help communities kind of help themselves, for lack of a better term. And to be honest with you, in this case, I was called by Haring Township on a matter of how do we get a redevelopment liquor license in place for one of our growing businesses. And it's interesting because that conversation has then led to so many other different conversations related to the township and how it functions and how it operates on a day-to-day basis. I get a lot of different working examples from communities, both large and small, in northern Michigan. And fortunately have the experience of working with all of my cohorts around the whole state, so we kind of benefit from best practices and things that communities are doing really well, some communities aren't doing so well. And in this case, our liquor license discussion kind of led to a much bigger overarching topic, which frankly was, trying to get, I think, a little better handle or direction on how Haring Township can become, I think, a little bit better position for redevelopment and new private investment, especially when you see things in, like, for instance, downtown Cadillac, or even in Manistee, in Traverse City, and the region in general, where there's been a lot of reinvestment, and you've seen it here in your community as well. And it's kind of trying to, I think, position yourselves to not only accommodate that new growth, but also direct it in a manner that you want to see. That being said, why I was asked here this evening was to introduce kind of a concept to the community. And what that concept is it's called Redevelopment Ready Communities Program. It's a technical assistance program that the NEDC houses. It is truly a self-assessment that the community would go through. And what I mean by that is we would have a look at, we meaning one of our staff in Lansing and myself, would work with the community to address your master plan, your zoning code. Do those two line up? Is one speaking to topics that aren't necessarily addressing from a legal standpoint, the right terminology? Does your capital improvements plan match those two documents? Do you have a public participation plan? So when things are happening in the community, how do people get notified? These are all interesting times, right? But these are all different, I think, things that a community can do to best basically put your best foot forward. When someone comes in the door to do a new development or rezone their property or present a site plan to you, there are all of these different best practices that we've taken from around the state and are really trying to, I think, help introduce those concepts to communities so that in the event new businesses, new private investments come into the community, you're ready to handle those. And frankly, get the style of development and the form of development that you want to see over time. So in a nutshell, this is a voluntary effort. It's something that the community would have to, we'll just say, choose to enter into. There are basically a few steps, and we can talk more about that if you have questions on those. But it's as simple as volunteering staff time locally, or in some communities just for instance, in Harrisville, a small community on the east side, the city of Harrisville. They were actually led by a citizen-led group through this process to try and kind of help in cohesion with the board and the planning commission and zoning board of appeals. They all worked together to basically come up with a sounding board or a steering committee to help lead them through this process. At the end of the day, the goal of this program is to, number one, again, as I said, be ready for new development and truly seek out the styles of development you want. For instance, Boyne City, as if anyone has heard, has gone through this and become certified, as we call it, Redevelopment Ready Community Certified. And what that means is that at the end of all of the self-assessment and all of your documents, we actually will work with you to identify, for instance, your top 3 priority sites where redevelopment could occur. And in seeking all of those out, we can actually invite investors, other people that have done redevelopment around the whole Midwest. In Boyne City, they targeted their top 4 sites. We had over 16 developers, most of which had never been to northern Michigan, ever. It's a kind of a new market for them to look at. And of those folks that were invited, one of them actually purchased one of those sites, and then I worked with them on a grant to redevelop that site. So that's kind of the full spin, the full circle of how this tool can be applied to the community. But it all starts from you.
So we say we want to do best practices, because I think it's the board's opinion is that we don't know how to develop our township. But if we go through this best practices and stuff, then there could be grant monies available to us that we don't know about. And there's much more to this than meets the eye, right?
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think engaging in this process, yes, it would open you up for receipt of incentives, financial incentives to help accomplish those goals that you set in place. For instance, let's say that your zoning code is being rewritten, and I know you're kind of in the cusp of that currently, but if it's being rewritten, we can actually bring dollars to the table to assist you to hire a consultant to work with you to do that, or master plans, or public participation plans, or what have you. So from that angle, absolutely. Depending on the type of project, we may be able to bring in our counterpart. Her name is Lydia Murray. She is on the business development side of things, who would work with kind of the larger manufacturers, things like that, that would be able to come to town. We could do that today. But yes, this is basically an opportunity, I think, to better position yourself as a community for your direction moving forward. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's staked on, bringing in new incentives, but it would open you up towards, I think, additional new investment that otherwise people tend to pass by.
Can I ask a couple questions?
Sure.
About 10 years ago, MSU Extension Office had a program which I swear is what you're describing. Is that correct?
We work with MSU Extension very closely.
Because, we had them come in, they did the master plan, the zoning ordinance, the whole 9 yards. You
Yep.
just described what we did. So you would be just following up with what we as a township have already done.
Yes, and going through kind of those existing documents, and then, maybe introducing some new ones as well, some new best practices.
So step one is the assessment, which really says, here are your gaps. When all
Correct.
said and done, here are your gaps.
Correct. This is what you're doing well at, and this is where we
And
can.
then my only other question, just because I need to ask is, come on, what kind of cash money are we talking about?
I love it. Let's get it out of the way. Well, to be honest with you, in my job, we are very targeted in terms of where we can put dollars. And what I mean by that is our selection pool for where we could implement both state and federal program dollars in the form of grants and loans was primarily everywhere in the state. And what had happened is everyone, I think, is aware, is that our state's budget had been getting shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And what that made all state agencies do, I think, is be a little more strategic in where they implement those dollars. MEDC was no different. For community development, what that meant was we focused in on our traditional downtowns, quote unquote traditional downtowns. And in townships, most townships don't have, say, a core downtown. They have corridors, and they probably have different neighborhoods. You have your own kind of a look and feel and true character. But what that meant for most townships is that we are not necessarily going after you as a target customer in terms of implementing new redevelopment opportunities. Because what we're looking at primarily are mixed-use buildings, historic assets, things like that, of which you don't have a whole lot of, frankly, in Haring Township, period. So that doesn't preclude you, though, from technical assistance and trying to kind of get yourself positioned to invite new reinvestment.
You have a strong focus on the commercial group, is that correct? As opposed to rural, residential, commercial would be a key piece to what you economically work on.
Generally, we're looking at kind of mixed-use developments. So both residential and some type of commercial, yes. To be honest with you, in certain areas of the community, like I know you've repurposed like your abandoned strip mall, which I know was closed for a little while and vacant. Now you have dealerships in there, which is a great reuse of an asset, right? And kind of taking it to the next step is maybe, for instance, there's some type of a residential piece built on top of some of those structures, things like that. It's just food for thought. But if that's something where you position yourself and you allow that style of development, at the end of the day, we may not even need to bring financial incentives to the table, because a lot of times with the economy turning the way it is, it kind of happens organically.
Okay, so bottom line, we say yes, we want to do it. What do? We pay you 10 grand, we pay you nothing, we pay you 6 grand. You are doing all the money supplying until we get a gap report to the board.
So I'm not going to give you any money up front. And I don't know that I will in the future, frankly. But what we will do is that I would ask that the community kind of kick this around, right? Mull it around, do a little research into the program. And also, I think it would be just from a strategic standpoint, worth talking with your staff, 'cause I know you have some staff capacity in terms of identifying who's going to do this work. Because right up front, we have to go through what's called self-assessment. And there's like 6 best practices that I refer to. And all it is basically a checklist. Once we go through that checklist, I'd then sit down with whoever filled it out and kind of do a review of that. But it could be up to the board, it could be up to the planning commission, whoever you choose, but you need to kind of tackle that first.
This typically, you would have a committee that you're working with, would, to make that up, like 2 planning commission members, like our operation and maintenance personnel for our utilities.
Sure.
A couple board members, a couple citizens, like 7 or 8 people.
Yeah.
You know, we're all.
That's a great makeup, yes.
Is that typically how you?
I mean, I've worked with individual staff members. City of Cadillac is engaged in this right now. I work with their couple planning staff. And they have gone through and done all their self-assessments, okay? And then I'm working directly with them. They then brought that report to the board for review. And then the city adopted a policy or resolution to enter into the program or opt into the program. So I'd like to use kind of the township board as that sounding sign off, and legally we have to.
No, ultimately you'd have to, but
Yep.
in the committee, you know, made up of.
But I think a mixed approach from all different members, the city of Harrisville example, that was all private citizens. There was no planning commissioners, there was one zoning person.
Mostly business people?
Yes,
or-
yep, mostly all business people. And they then worked with the city and had an agreement that they would report back to the city all the findings. Because again, you're my customer, not necessarily a group of business owners. So that was how they chose to go through it.
But back to her question, you know, the money part of it.
Mhm.
you know.
Is the money all our investment in our own people and meetings? I mean, we're not matching you, or, I mean, are we sending you a check?
No.
That's my bottom question.
No, there is no
It's
cost to
really our
this
effort.
service.
It's our effort.
Absolutely, no, there is no cost to this service at all. No, you're off the hook.
Well, we
That's
have to
what I
ask.
understood.
We
But
have to
you're
ask.
on the hook for a lot of work though, I'm not gonna
Right.
lie. I mean,
That's the work.
this is not something that's gonna take place over the course of like a month. I mean, Boyne City, it took them 2 years to truly become certified. I mean, there's a lot of documentation that goes along with this, which is why I asked to mull it around a little bit, because although I think it's a really great program and we're seeing a lot of good results, you need to have the capacity to be able to do it. And I gotta have results to bring to my staff in Lansing to say they are doing what we're asking them to do. It's up to you to do it, but we'll help you.
So is it a consensus of the board to move this along?
I'm for moving it along, I'm for positioning our township and having it, the growth the way we want it to come.
Are you looking down here at me?
I'm looking at this end.
Okay, my thoughts, two thoughts. One, we have a hard enough time getting volunteers to do our planning commission meeting and ZBA. I'm just saying. So we had to make a lot of effort to get a group, which we can do. And then my skepticism is that I'm kind of just thinking about this 1 square mile, you know, of the 36 and the repurposing part. I mean, are we going to really focus? Where are we focusing? But other than that, I'm all for moving ahead and trying. So yes, I'm for moving ahead and trying.
I don't need an answer now.
But,
Well,
yeah,
we want
I want to get a feeling how, a sense of what the board feels. Feel this will be a work.
let's check it out.
So, we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is our assessor's contract expires. And they have presented us with a proposal. They're asking for an extension of their contract at the same price per parcel as it has been. You guys have that?
I need to be used to this conversation.
I have,
Go ahead.
oh, my comments? Okay, here are my comments. Number one, I understand the contract expires next month, so we kind of end up buying. Number two, in my ideal world, if we had actually been on the ball, I would have said we should just bid it out, just out of good practice, okay? So that leads me to number three of, they're suggesting a 5-year contract. I would propose that we take theirs on a 1-year contract so that that new board that takes office come January next year can have time to think and rethink about it next summer. That's my proposition.
Any other comments? I would make a motion that we extend it for 1 year and reevaluate it at that time, put it up for bid.
Second.
Any other comment, question? If not, we have a roll call vote.
Scarborough.
Yes?
Baggerman.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes.
McCain.
Yes.
So, yes.
Motion carried. Okay, we have a next item on the agenda, Resolution 2016-04. We discussed this last month. It has been put together by our attorney. What it is, a resolution to establish sewer rates and charges for the public sewer system. And it is in line with our ordinance that we just adopted. So. Any other comments, questions?
Are we voting on this or are we presenting it and voting next month?
This is a resolution that we're voting on right now.
Okay, because you said a different one. Okay, this is the one we're voting.
This is one we're voting on.
And what's our?
Resolution 2016-04.
Which is the one we had last time we met.
Right, we discussed. Okay. I'll make a motion to pass resolution, adopt resolution 2016-04. You have a second?
Second.
Have a roll call vote, please.
Scarborough.
Yes.
Baggerman.
Okay, yes.
McCain.
Yes.
So, yes. Wilkerson. Yes. Whetstone.
Yes.
Motion carried. This time I make a motion that we suspend our regular meeting at 6:37. To enter into closed section to discuss some specific some pending legal issues. Do I have a second?
Second.
And roll call vote, please.
Scarborough.
Yes.
Baggerman.
Yes.
Whetstone.
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes.
McCain.
Yes.
So, yes.
Motion carries. We'll reconvene our regular meeting at 6:58. Okay. As a result of our closed session, it was discussed. We had some legal stuff to discuss. And what the board has decided that the 39 road loop is part of our utilities improvements. The engineering's done on it, the mistig's done. There are some things that were not done quite properly, and that project won't happen until, there won't be any dirt done. We're not trying to force utilities on anyone. But that project won't happen until you guys are all notified. So, and there is some action that the board does have to take before it would happen. So that's just to clarify that. Does the board have anything else to add? Okay. All right, next item on the agenda was an added item, roads,
Township roads.
township roads. Go ahead.
All right, so two things. So obviously the neighborhood out by Long Lake have issued this petition asking for road improvements, primarily of the gravel sand roads. And I would like to couple that with the seasonal roads that are even further out by the brine well, just being passable. So my conversation on this is, they talk about safety. And I think safety is a key thing, and if you remember over the last several years, I would always talk to the fire department about this being, is it safe for these fire trucks to get to a resident out in the woods? And a few years back, we had an issue. And aside from the one that Mr. Ford brought in, I would like to make a suggestion that maybe our fire chief take one of the fire trucks, I don't know what size you got, but one to make, I know, but my point is, last weekend, I come from Lake City, and on purpose, I went by the brine well, which is 30 3/4 road out there by Sealy Road, etc., and I purposely came down that seasonal road. I want to see, because I know we have issues that they're describing, but other ones adjacent to that. And I swear I ran into a mud hole that my car, I had 4-wheel drive, questioned getting through, and here are people out there with shovels. And they have a house out there in a seasonal road with RVs coming, and they asked me to call the road commission. I called the road commission. That was, I think, Thursday. No response. I think no differently than what Mr. Ford's group is talking about. No response. Our township needs safe roads, and I think personally, in addition to what they're describing, these seasonal roads need to be passable so that we can get fire equipment, ambulance to people who need it. And I would like to propose at least, maybe we can ask you to look once a year, take a drive out that way. I mean, you can at least look at tree heights and maybe widths in the winter. I mean, you would be a wintertime thing to check some of their issues. But we need something to help, not just Long Lake, but all of our northern, because we're talking commercial here. Everybody here has talked about 1 square mile, and we forget that we have all our rural places that we need to think about. So Mr. Scarborough, when you talk to the road commission, I'd like you to bring up the seasonal roads in addition to the main roads they're describing. And I would like to ask the board, ask the fire chief, will you go out there and make note? And when you run into these, I mean, I'll be happy to drive with you out my way. Because, I mean, I personally think these people pay money and taxes, and they should be able to get to their places. And then actually, Bob, out past you, I came by Ball's Corner, whatever you call that road. I mean, come on, seriously? It's disrespectful to our township that our roads aren't passable.
Those roads out there to the west of me, they had that issue with, they tried to maintain them, and it's all the dirt bikes and the 4-wheelers.
I know, but at least once a
They
year.
continually are tearing them back up.
I know, but
And they love that mud. They get in them and
same
just-
with what we
They
described.
just rip them up, and the more mud, the better. That's,
So I think, Mr. Bird, maybe you can elaborate what you're thinking.
One of the people that signed the petition told me that it is somewhere within the county or the state laws that all seasonal roads are to be graded at least once a year. Is that true?
I believe they're correct.
But I think think it's more than graded. It has to be passable. And this one I'm describing, our fire truck cannot get by. And it is a seasonal road.
I know
That's
on
what I'm-
Celia Road, the property owners on Celia Road, they're, in the wintertime, they plow that themselves. The county doesn't even plow that road.
Yeah, the better shape the road is, the easier
They
it is
do
to
that
plow.
them- they do
And
that
that's
themselves. They
applicable
do
to
that
the roads
themselves.
we're talking about.
So whose responsibility when we're talking about trees, the big trees, if that's on county road right away, whose responsibility is it to cut those trees?
That's a good question. We would like to know, I think,
That's a
right?
question. I'll bring it up.
Can I ask Mr. Parker who's input here?
I know the county burns wood at the garage. I think they see those big trees that are dying, they'd be jumping on them.
Yeah, I think so. Anything else?
Kind of be curious to know that.
We met with Carl, the planning commission did, and I want to say probably a year ago. And what he said is the county's only roads are 37 Mile Road and Boone Road. But the rest of those roads are classified as township roads.
Yeah, but they get
And when
public.
we asked him about who does that, he said they do, the only seasonal work that they will do is that one-time grading.
Once a year.
Once a year. He said unless there is an arrangement between the township and the county, and he used the example of Boone Township and some, where they have a special millage that's in place where they go above and beyond whatever their designated roads are. But I was surprised to find out they only were only required to maintain.
You'll take a fire truck out there and
Yes.
check it out. And what I'll do, I'll talk to them, and I'll try to get them to come to a meeting, and so we can have a discussion
Okay,
about.
we're gonna present a petition to the road commission also on the 20th.
But I think it's
When
valuable.
when are you gonna do that?
I'm sorry?
You know when that will be?
Next Wednesday.
The 20th.
Wednesday. 20th.
Wednesday, the 20th?
At 9 AM.
But I think it would be valuable
It is in the morning?
for the board to focus our efforts on the safety. I mean, what we can do as a board is say, our fire people need to be able to help people.
Well, yeah.
If we work
Yeah.
that angle,
Yeah.
maybe we get someone,
Okay.
I don't know,
But
but
they
please
get
help.
paid, if they're an Act 51 road, county road, I'm just saying,
I
county
know.
road gets money from the state to plow and maintain them.
Which is why our board is foolish not to try to assist and use our fire people.
I got it, I'm just saying,
Okay,
they're
so
Act
thank you.
51 roads.
Okay, anything else on that? Okay. We will move on to, what's the next item? The weed ordinance. Number 6 has been added.
Thank you for your consideration, however.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Roads are a tough issue.
Weed ordinance.
Okay, that was mine. Can I just comment?
Yep.
Okay, so I see Mr. Green is here and that we prepared and mailed all violation letters regarding the rice weed and vegetation ordinance and the list. And at last, it was either 2 weeks ago or 2 weeks before that, one of our board meetings, we were talking about us coming in and mowing it ourselves. Where are we at with this whole process? Enforcement.
Did you read the notice of violation?
Yeah.
And it does say, township may also at its option to clean up the property at the expense or a special assessment or separate invoice. So if we don't get compliance after notification of this letter within 10 days, we'll notify them again and we'll set something up to clean them up.
Oh, so this letter just went out last Friday. Is this our first communication then to all the landowners?
No, second.
Second?
Everyone
mine
that's
Saturday.
Saturday got information letter.
So generically, everybody got their notice, hey, here's the ordinance. And now, for the first time, everybody's getting their enforcement if they need it. And Ms. Betsy just got hers Saturday and this was mailed Friday. And so our plan then is what, wait a week or two and then we are going in and mowing it
That's
ourselves?
10 days.
But what are we doing?
Right.
So what? My question is, so what? Nobody does something, so what? Then what?
Then they'll be turned over to the board and we will act on it. Unless we get it, in the ordinance, there is a provision in there for hardship.
Right. Which is what I want to follow up with her.
Okay.
So, but that's what I'm saying. So
It's clarified and it was in the letter that you sent out originally. how it would be acted on. There's really not that, it has been, it made a huge improvement in the township. It does look a lot better, so, but there are still some out there that are in violation.
And aside to Anita, we do have somebody set up so that if we, the board, choose to say we're cleaning it up, that we do have somebody.
But that's what I'm asking, did we get that person? I know we talked about it, but did we get it?
Kirk had them lined up, the same
We
person.
do have the
that does
person
it.
lined up, so we are quick to go home.
Yeah.
Okay, now, my other part to this addition is, can we address the request for hardship? Or is that
Go ahead.
premature? Well, okay, I move to grant a hardship exemption to the Betsy's.
Okay, based on what?
Well, that's my motion.
Pardon?
I'm making a motion.
Okay.
Based on the request, written request.
No, it's the property right on the corner, right?
That's the address, 421 East 13th Street.
It's the corner, 13th Street,
Right. And then you turn the corner and then there's Hanford.
right straight north of the fire fairgrounds.
Yeah, goes straight north. It's all one property. There's no address for the rest of it on Hanford.
And you are keeping it mowed back to where it was mowed and cleared up last year, correct?
Yeah, Gordy Maxwell's been doing that for us.
Okay. Which is at least 50, 70 feet.
It's like 70 something.
Yeah. It doesn't go all the way through the red line.
Because you got the rest of the trees and the bushes there.
Once you get to that point, it is fairly wooded. So,
It's all green, it's all bushes and trees.
and you intend to have Gordy continue to keep it cleaned up for the rest of the?
Well, it's up to him. I mean, you know, they're doing it out of their own heart, you know. If they stop doing it, then, I don't know.
If you keep it cleaned up to there, I would be in favor of doing it, but, you know, you can't expect somebody to continue to do it for free. But you would get half of your exemption.
Pardon?
You would end up getting half your exemptions to be in compliance. If you keep cleaned up what's already been.
As it is
cleaned
right
up.
now.
Yeah, you continue to do that. Is that fair?
That fair?
That's where it is now.
Where it is now. Yeah.
I modified my motion to say that.
Well, go ahead and say it.
Oh, come on. I move to grant Betsy's request, partial request for a hardship exemption on the grass-weed ordinance, provided they maintain the existing mowed claimed area. Should I have an expiration?
It goes through, in the ordinance, it explains that it goes through the growing, this growing season.
For this current season?
We have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? No?
My discussion is that I'm very impressed they came in within the timeliness. Remember the 10th, we sent out the letter and then the ordinance said you had to respond within X days to the board. So I'm very impressed that they did that.
All those in favor of granting the exemption as presented by trustee Packard? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Exemption's granted with the provisions that were mentioned.
Thank you.
Okay, next item, PC appointments. Okay, I have.
It was probably more than
I have an appointment. I would make a motion. My name is Nate Swiger. I'm a longtime Haring Township resident. I appreciate the efforts of the Township Board and the Planning Commission. I've been interested in zoning and the zoning process for quite some time now. I would very much appreciate an appointment and the opportunity to serve on the Haring Township Planning Commission. Thank you for your consideration. Nate Swiger. I would make a motion to appoint Nate to to a 3-year term starting now and to end 3 years from now in 2019. Have a second?
Support.
All those in favor
Can
say
I,
aye.
can I ask, is this to replace the gray head position?
Yes.
No,
All
well,
those-
can I ask you something else? Do you know anything about him? I mean,
Yeah.
No, I mean, can you like tell, I mean, is he like representing Hague? I mean, what's he representing?
He's been involved in the school system for quite
Or
some time.
education.
So, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Who made the second?
Dan.
Dan.
Dan did.
Okay.
Didn't Dan?
Opposed? Motion carried. I would also like to make a motion to continue Theron Parker's term through August 15th of next month due to the fact that they are involved in a rezone that he's aware of and been involved in since the beginning. So, and we'll reevaluate it at that time, and we'll all have more answers then. So, I make that motion. Have a second? Second. Seconded by Sol. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Pending business, hydrant availability fees. Okay, I make a motion to transfer the funds in the amount of $150,000 to our water fund, as per suggested by the board members and approved by our attorney, and with the discussion, Mike Poole was involved in that. We've been delinquent on our hydrant availability fees for the last 3 years. We are $50,000 per year in arrears, and this would get us caught up. So
Let's go into the water fund.
this goes to the water fund out of the general fund.
And is there a way he could actually see if we're not 4 years behind?
I'll ask Mike, we'll Mike and ask him. I believe it's 3 years, I'm sure. So, we have support, we have a second, we have a roll call vote.
Who seconded it?
Dan Wilkinson.
Scarborough.
Yes.
Wilkinson. Weststone.
Yes.
Wagner.
Yes.
McCain.
Yes.
So, yes.
Okay, motion carried. Okay. Next item is the process for loaning funds from the general fund to a water fund or to any other enterprise fund. Our attorney has worked that out, and we would be discussing that process at a special meeting in the future. There's no action to take on it tonight. Reports, the treasurer's report, we all have Beth's report. Anyone have any questions for Beth? Beth, do you have anything to add to your report? No. Okay. Clerk's report?
Sold 4 graves and had some election training on July 5th, and we did the public accuracy test June 27th. So we got the clerk's report, liquor inspection report, everything's fine in the township.
Zoning administrator's report, anyone have any questions for Mike? We discussed this. Mike, do you have anything to add to your report?
No, just the veteran survey veterans, zero requests tomorrow night. They changed their request to go to commercial from the light industrial. Seems to fit what they wanted to do.
Did we charge them twice for that? $400 each or no?
We will be charging, we want to get it moving, so. I did talk, painting captain painting, he's
aware of that, so.
But is it needed, I guess? Do we need to charge them twice? That's $800 now coming out of feds.
Well, it was their decision to change it. They came to us with a different request. I think it's appropriate. But if you want to waive that, that's up to you, the board. Because they came to us with a kind of a different request than what we were expecting. I got to the meeting that night and found out they were putting up a culvert, which was not in the application or anything, so.
So the initial request has been changed,
Yeah.
so there's additional fee.
Well, I understand that, but, I mean, did we guide them any? Did we, I would be open to hearing a request directly from them with a reason why to provide the exemption. I mean, a waiver of the second 400, but I'd like them to ask and tell us why, not us just do it.
I've talked to that community quite a bit, and over the last couple months, actually, we had a lot of different conversations. I think they were trying to flesh out what they wanted to do with the property. They weren't really 100% sure themselves, so this is kind of a developing plan for them.
Didn't he request to have this property zoned industrial? Is my brain wrong on that?
No.
So he requested us to zone it industrial. Now he's requesting a different zoning.
Yes.
You don't
correct.
Yeah, but you're talking a few years ago, so just bear that in mind.
I don't think it was a
It's
few years
been
ago.
18 months, 2 years?
Has it been that long?
Yeah.
2012, 2012, when that was,
Yeah. So. Anything else? Okay. Fire chief report.
All right. Well, we had a total of 7 runs for the month. 2 PIs, 3 mutual aids, 1 fire alarm, 1 illegal burn. I know Kirk had touched base on it a little bit at the last meeting, but after 18 months of working with Sierra and going around and doing everything that we could do and all the testings and education and everything that the fire department does, we've actually finally succeeded at lowering our ISO rating again. We are now a class 5 and a class 5Y.
Can you get with our newspaper reporter and explain to him and have him give us a big blurb in the paper about that?
I'll try my best.
Thank
I'm
you.
not good at public
Because
speaking,
that's,
so.
because he's the one,
They were impressed.
taxpayers
Yes.
will know.
As Sierra will help me out here, when we sat down and had a meeting with ISO, we spent a couple hours with them, sitting there. They were pretty impressed with our water system, our utility system, on how it was built for fire suppression. And that's what really helped bring it down. It also helped by having Sierra there with us. Finally, for once, we had somebody that had utility numbers and all that. When we sat there, that we could give them ratings and pressures and things like that, so.
Is this like the certificate we get, the fire department, what do you get?
It's not really a certificate, it's all the insurance companies can go to this ISO and they'll see what we did. It helped with the fire trucks that we had, that we stayed within the 25 years. One of the things, and again, I know everybody's just gonna smile at me, but one of the things is that's why we use that 25-year mark on our vehicles. Next year, our ladder truck will be at its 25th year. The year after that, it won't be recognized. So we'll, if they come back and reevaluate us, we could go back up because that was part of, considered in the, what they call an engine company. So having that truck and the way we have our department laid out and with the education is what really nailed the heart. And working with Sierra on it, finally getting pressures and ratings is what tremendously helped us.
And when is this effective?
Now. It's
Now?
effective now.
So we need to have everybody call.
September 9th, I guess, is what they
Call your
really.
insurance companies.
September 9th is their day that they put it onto the website of theirs, but I've already had insurance companies calling us, and that's all I do is just fax them the rating of it, and then they'll adjust it, so.
Can you get a copy to the board?
Absolutely, Supervisor Scarborough's got a copy of it, and they both have one, so.
Okay.
But we'll be more than happy to provide them to anybody that wants them.
Thank you for your hard work.
You're
Yes.
welcome.
Thank you, Sierra. You both did an awesome job.
Committees, do we have a county commissioner now?
Mark, John's had a previous meeting tonight, so.
Sierra, you have anything?
Does anybody have any questions for me? Or?
You can see Bell Street acting up a little bit again. You jinxed it, Molly.
I'm sorry. I'm jinx.
And we did have a couple of things at the wastewater plant that popped up, but nothing that wasn't pretty easily fixed. All in all, pretty well.
So
We'll see
what-
there for a second.
What does that emergency misdig mean? Does that mean it's not?
Means
the normal
anytime after
day?
5. Do you remember on the 22nd when there was that car accident out there and you hit the power pole? So they call us after 5 o'clock and it's, you get out there right now and mark this so that we can.
Because otherwise you'd do it in 3 days.
Yeah, there's, I think if you call it a misdig, it's something like 14 days to respond. Then there's like a quick one that's 3 days, and then there's right now. Get out there, and that's what this one was because they hit the power pole out in front of the Admiral gas station.
And you are involved with that?
Oh yeah, they call us, whoever's on call within our end will go out and mark your water and wastewater utilities for those. It's part of the many alarms that can go
Any
off.
other questions for Sierra? Thank you. Same approval of the regular board meeting minutes of June 13th, 2016, and the special meeting minutes of June 27th, 2016. Any motion to approve? Make the motion. Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Approval of the check register, general fund 27,546 through 27,580, direct deposits 184 through 189 in the amount of $22,547.03. Excuse me, the operation and maintenance fund 2327 to 2340 in the amount of $52,841.56. Motion to approve. Make a motion. We have a motion to approve it. Any discussion? Matt, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
So, yes, Whetstone,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
McCain,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Motion carried. We have correspondence. I have received a letter from MTA. Dear Mr. Scarborough, I'm pleased to inform you that on June 27th, the MTA Legal Defense Fund Committee reviewed and approved continued assistance in the litigation with Terry D. LLC versus Clam Lake Township. Specifically, the committee approved up to $9,000 for the filing of a brief in support of your appeal, and MTA's legal counsel will make the appropriate filings. We look forward to a positive decision from the Michigan Supreme Court. Sincerely, Gene Lawrence, Maryland Executive Director.
That's cool.
Awesome.
So that was good. I agree. Anyone else have anything as far as communication? Not, we have a second public comment. Anyone like to address the board may do so. Not, we have any board comment? If there is no board comment, we have a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Sports.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:20.